Hey and welcome to Neverwinter with Aragon. So the Fighter Dreadnought just recently got a bunch of updates to improve its damage, and we're going to, in this video, cover a budget build that you can create with less than 1,000,000 Astral Diamonds to have a very solid start. First of all though, I want to cover the understanding of the class, what abilities to choose and why. I will have timestamps on the play bar below where you can skip to any section you're most interested in. So first of all, our power setup. Well, for single target damage, I would recommend something like this. There are a few situations you can change things up, like using Commander Strike instead of Griffin's Wrath, like using Trip Attack with Knee Breaker instead of Anvil of Doom. And if you have a dedicated loadout to single target, I would go with Striker's Mark instead of Land Waster. So with this setup, how you want to play it in combat is, first of all, you want to make sure you have combat advantage against your target. So again, this is single target setup, so it's in boss fights. We move for combat advantage, this arc is purple, and then we need to make sure we have our vengeance bar full, above 50%. That is always. We can just go into this squat here using that tab ability, Seath, and then you'll generate that up very quickly. You'll generally do that before going into a fight. So once we're in the fight here, we can go use our Bull Charge, Anvil of Doom, and then our Griffin Wraths here. And then from there, it's just using heavy slashes. You might want to use a heavy slash right at the beginning before those encounters, just so you get the extra 5% buff for them. Once your encounter powers are off cooldown, you can go right ahead and use them. Now this is a budget build, but you may very well still want to take advantage of artifact calls, and if you do, then you want to be casting your artifact using a few at-wills, then using your encounter powers here, followed by your daily power, your mow down, and then like your mount power, and that should all be done within 10 seconds, and then it's just back to at-wills until your encounters are off cooldown. If your vengeance ever drops below 50 like there, make sure to go in your squad a little bit. If you're going to know you can get attacked, you can also trigger your Revengeance, which is that new ability we got with the rework. It can give 500 damage to the target, so it's well worth it if you can trigger that. It does have a hidden cooldown of 5 seconds, so beware, you can trigger it that frequently if you wanted to. Particularly for single target, there's a lot you can learn. You can learn to animation cancel heavy slash with your dig in, your Seath. You can learn to animation cancel encounter powers as well, just cutting cast times a little bit to squeeze out a bit more damage. Particularly helpful with mow down to cut that cast time. You'll still get the extra hit in, and you're doing that with Seath and also just your regular block. They did add a new thing with the regular block that you now can gain immunity frames. It's really helpful to avoid taking massive amounts of damage against certain mechanics, and you also get that burst of movement speed to help you move out of a red zone nice and fast. Once you are really min-maxing, you will want to get some Tactician's Precision and take advantage of artifact calls and that cooldown reduction to essentially get more damage from your encounters by being able to cast them nearly twice during that artifact call. But we move to a multi-target setup, and the main at-will here will be Reeve, and if there's like only 1 or 2 targets left, go with heavy slash. And also try to have this buff, so use like 1 heavy slash and then the rest of your abilities. You want to have onslaught for the stun and the large area damage there. You want to have shield throw combined with the ricochet to bounce off enemies to get some extra damage. You want to try shield throw at an enemy that isn't just going to die, because if you throw it at an enemy that dies to the hit, then it no longer will ricochet to any other enemies. And then shield slam enhanced with Plow the Road to have 600 magnitude. You can use Tremor, and I would use Tremor instead of Shield Throw if there's like 5 or more enemies which you know you can reliably hit with this, versus what you would do there with Shield Throw. Keep in mind of the Land Waster feat that you can make use of that, so when you're in combat and you make sure you have that above 50 vengeance and you go ahead and use that Earth Shaker, you can then follow it up with your Land Waster Shockwave. Again, you can trigger Revengeance in multi-target and hit multiple enemies. You go here and there, you can hit both of them in that cone. But then the features are as follows there. You are just simply switching to Plow the Road. Now, you could use Always Spiteful if you don't want to maintain your Vengeance, because also in multi-target, you want to have Vengeance above 50. That's just a given all the time. You can get used to always just topping that off whenever you have like a spare second, so that you're always having that pretty much full. And generally, I prefer to do that rather than relying on this to get your Vengeance up. But it can have its uses and you might want to mess around with that. But Vigorous Strikes is a nice reliable 10% crit strike. There will be a change coming to this that it will change it to 5%. Nonetheless, it'll still be pretty good. But in single target, you might want to switch to Enduring Vengeance instead of Vigorous Strikes when that change occurs. So now let's jump to our stats. So as a damage dealer, what you want to focus on is these 5 offensive stats in the priority of power, then combat advantage, then crit severity, then crit strike, and lastly accuracy. You want to keep in mind there are other bonuses that are going to give you additional benefits to just raw damage, and you will want to take those. You may see them in endgame builds with like the Batiri, Neverwinter Night, Minsk, etc. But let's jump to our race and ability scores, and you can see I'm a tiefling, and that's not really ideal. We'd be better off with a race that's going to give us bonus to our offensive stats. So human will do that. Half orc would do that, but I would avoid it because crit severity is really easy to get. Gift would be great there. Metallic Dragonborn would be great. Wood Elf would be great. Regular Dragonborn is very good. And then you can run team support ones, which will also support yourself with like Dragonfire from the Drow, Fairy Fire from the Menzobrand and Renegade. You can see a list of the different races and what bonuses they give you. But if you don't want to play a Dragonborn, then don't. And in the end of the day, it's not the end of the world what you play. In terms of ability scores, you do want to be focusing strength and dexterity from the beginning. Once you do get crit severity to 90% from having dexterity, you'll switch some points over to charisma. Our next section is gear. However, keep in mind, I have made a video from like 0 to hero, 34 steps to max, and that covers this upgrade priority, running you through all these details. Recommend checking that video out if you want to see what priority you go in. But be aware, this does not consider optimization with regards to those stats, as we mentioned in that section. So there will be some things, some steps that you want to take that are a little bit different, just so that you can squeeze out some more damage at that baseline. And that's what we're going to cover now. You may just have some starter gear from leveling up through all those adventures. Just here, you get some gear by doing all the quests. Right now, what we have is this ward gear that comes from the seals vendor here, that you should be able to obtain those seals when leveling. And you can just buy all that, plus your weapons, shirt, pants, armor, everything, even rings. But we're just going to have this for now, and we're going to get better alternatives. So what you can do straight away is start getting seals from random queues. You're going to have the random skirmish queue and the random dungeon queue. You'll probably have the item level requirement already to do that. I don't, because our character is super bare bones, but we'll get there. But you may very well be able to get seals of the dragon from those random dungeon and skirmish, and seals of the spider for the trial queue and advanced dungeon. You can find a seals vendor if you don't have VIP in Protector's Enclave, just around here, and you can see me on the map. Speak to this guy and we can buy some equipment. So we have seals of the dragon. We're going to spend some of that to get like these boots to give us combat advantage when we're in a party, to get these arms when we use a daily power, our at wills will deal some extra damage. And if we had more, we could also buy the helmet, which can be particularly good fighting dragons in dragon hunts. And yes, you do want to get this armor piece here with the power and combat advantage. We already have it. I bought it earlier. So we'll just go and equip those as we obtain them. You will be wanting to get some gear upgrades. And our first step I would recommend is going to dragon hunts with Dragon Slayer, completing those, getting your Dragon Hunter rank, and you'll want to get this ring down here, the Ring of Clarity. Extra damage when you're close to your target. In Ancient Dragons, you'll also need to get those ridges. You can get the Soothsayer's Ring just right here of Absolution. Then you want to go and get the Serene Hood. You want to get the Mighty Kuras. You'll want to get the mighty van bracers and also the sharp long boots. Very good bonuses there that are going to help you significantly outputting a lot more damage. Just, you can't be getting them now as that's quite a grind, and it does have some extra Astral Diamonds, but by the time you get there, you should have easily more Astral Diamonds than what budget we're spending now. So we're going to start spending our budget. And the first thing I recommend you do is get an upgraded neck and waist and artifact set. Comes fairly cheaply. You'll have to buy the Demogorgon's girdle here, then Baphomet's infernal talisman. We can also get that on legendary, and then the artifact, the Shard of Orcus's wand. We get that for 4,000. Whenever you buy anything from the auction house, you will need to head to a mailbox wherein you can collect said items. Once done, you can then go and equip them, including the artifact, and once there, you have the full set, and this gives you extra damage against enemies as their hit points decrease. Very good starter set. From there, we want to get the corroded shirt of the Dragon Cult. However, this one's expensive right now, so we can get cheaper ones. They are in the collections, and we can see the tarnished shirt sells for nothing, so we'll grab that. You just tooltip them and you can see you want to get the one with combat advantage, 5%. We also want to get some covert brace pants. These ones for the power and defense. Now, there are good ones you can get, but you can also go to your seals vendor, and Seals of the Spider will allow you to buy them here too. You want to get offense stats. So crit severity with that one and accuracy with this one. We'll go with the accuracy. So we didn't even need to spend any Astral Diamonds for that. And the shirt was very little. Go ahead and equip those. And then you get those nice bonuses. From here, we want some rings. Look up the Ruby Drow Ring, selling for less than 3,000. And the Emerald Drow Ring, also 3,000. Those two will give us a decent bump up in our stats here for damage. And that's it for the gear. Now you will be wanting to get upgrades. For example, a weapon set. If you do desperately want to get an upgrade from here, you can go to the campaign Path of the Fallen. You can farm your mains, running them over with those cars, and you can get a weapon set that will help the team a very little bit, but at least it will be better than those purple ones, and that's this Legion Guard weapon set. Give you a bit of offense stats there along with some defense, and you provide that also to the entire team. But you will be wanting to head for the North Dark Reaches as soon as you get that item level, and do these middle tasks, get these weapons, and then get the Stormforged ones from there. We already mentioned what gear upgrades to get in terms of dragon hunts. Go for those, but you will be wanting to get an upgrade neck and waist set eventually, like the Shroomwood Sash and Amulet. Very good, particularly for endgame at the moment. There is also the Mythic Demogorgon set and also the Spelljammer set, which are viable. But from here we move to mounts. For now I'm going to assume you have like nothing, and first of all I would recommend getting the legendary giant toad. However, its price will fluctuate up and down. It is like the best one you could get your hands on, but wait until it's about 300,000 Astral Diamonds. Since we can't get that for a reasonable price, we're going to go for the Armored Axe Beak. This will give us some stats, and its power is particularly decent in multi-target content. You can see that with its Spinning Axe Strike. We do need to get some epic mounts though as well. We get the Gorgon, this Apparatus of Gond, this Giant Crab, the Apparatus of Koalish, and finally the Trained Basilisk. Again, don't pay much more than what I'm paying for any of these. Wait until prices settle. Claim all those from your mail, and then go right ahead and equip them. When you do that, go back to your stable here. Make sure it has slotted in that Spinning Axe Strike and also the Armor Breaker here. That should give you a bump in item level. Will depend on your bolster though. You may experience getting a bit less than me. And you now have a power of 667 magnitude there, which is going to hit multiple enemies. Ideally, again, you would have the legendary giant toad with its tongue lash, as that's going to have high single target damage for the boss fights, and then you'll switch between the two. Again, just wait until this drops in price down to 300,000. But make sure to go and slot in all those epic mounts that I just told you to buy. And we now need some insignias to go in the slots to give us some decent bonuses. Again, go to your auction house, go to insignias here, and we're just going to get green ones, but you need specific ones. Like we need 6 regals, so just buy 6 regals, does not matter what type they are. Buy 2 illuminated ones, 6 enlightened ones, and 1 barbed. Again, that's 6 regal, 2 illuminated, 6 enlightened, 1 barbed. Now we go to slot them into these mounts, obtaining Gladiator's Guile with the Apparatus of Gond, Assassin's Covenant with the Koalish, Protector's Camaraderie with the Crab, another Gladiator's Guile with the Gorgon, and then another Assassin's Covenant with the Basilisk. So you end up with those 5 bonuses. Decent for again starting out. You then need to search Epic Color Choice Pack and buy 5 of these. You'll want to then open these, and you can only have 1 color of each type, so just take what I say. Practical color with the Rough Astral Diamond bonus, Sturdy color with the Encounter Power Damage bonus, Supportive with the Stamina gain, Unified with the Movement Speed, and finally Wayfaring with the Crit Severity. Then go and equip them all. You will need to have an epic mount next to the collar in order to actually use an epic collar. That's why we had to buy those, along with getting ones with decent bonuses. From here, we move to our companions. Again, you may have a few from leveling up, but I highly recommend getting the ones I suggest. You want to get Elminster. For around 300k is a good deal. Get the Barbarian Shaman, should not have to pay much for it. Then the Red Slad, also cheap. Then you can go get the Were-Rat Thief here. It's just you can also get it yourself just by playing the game with seals at a seals vendor for just 300 of these Seals of the Dragon. And then we also want to get the Tomb Spider, claiming all of those, and we can now go and equip them. I already have an account-wide Elminster, so there's no point me opening this pack. I can go resell it. If you already have an Elminster account-wide, just check in your promo tab, and he should be listed like down here. Claim him and equip him. Equip all those companions as well. And you should see all their bonuses getting populated here. However, you might run into, like we just did, the game doesn't sort them, and we end up with Barbarian Shaman ending up here when we should have Elminster with the Barbarian Shaman over here. And that's where they should go in all the slots. And we can go and summon Elminster then, and that allows us to get some item level, but also getting this ability right here. Particularly for single target, I would recommend having Acute Senses here. We missed some combat advantage, we could probably make the most of that. You should have it from the Tomb Spider. But from here, if you have no companion gear, you can go to the companions page and you can buy some and just get it on green, but you want to get some ones with stats that you can actually use. We'll just buy some ones with Crit Strike. Equip them all, but what you will want to take advantage of, particularly if you're watching this video now, we have Light of Xeraxis start this campaign regardless of your item level. Go do that. What you can get is companion gear with really high item level, the highest in the game right now, 1,800. You'll want to go get your currency and get these. Get 3 pieces. You ideally want to get the ones with the offensive stats, so that's this top one here, combat advantage, crit severity. Our stats are looking fine, but the last thing we can do is get some consumables. First of all, from the auction house, you can get the Flask of Potency, generally pretty cheap. You can just buy this one here, doesn't matter, but you could get the ones with a little bit more stats, 8,000. You can also get Elixir, Sunlord's Gift Elixir, but I wouldn't buy it here. Every time you pray to your god, you invoke, you can get this currency, and every day you can buy this, Sunlord's Gift Elixir. So we'll just buy a bunch of these. They last a full hour, along with then having these Flask of Potencies, and you can also then get Watermelon Sorbet. You would be better off getting Squash Soup, but that's generally pretty expensive, and I would recommend farming the Summer Festival for that. Even the Jubilee is good. You can use each of these, you can see what stats they're giving you, it's quite a lot. You can see our stats getting pretty high with barely anything. That's really good. But we can also go and get a belt item, the doohickey right here, 20,000. That's a decent deal. And from there, you can go to any old vendor and purchase some potions here for gold, highly recommend, and also some portable altars. That's well advised. Altars you want to use to clear death stacks, so like revive sickness, and then potions you want to make sure that, yeah, you have them here, and you can use them to heal up quick. And at this level, we can nearly heal to full, and especially if we're scaled, you will be able to heal to full. Make sure to go ahead and equip your doohickey. It's a bit of extra damage you can deal every 30 seconds. 100 magnitude, it's not bad. It's also area of effect. From there, I do recommend going to Descent into Avernus, go to Valenhas, and you can get yourself the Forger's Box. You can upgrade it to Mythic and it'll give you 3% power plus a random 2% of other stats or 6%. From there, you might have some Astral Diamonds left over, particularly if you didn't buy that giant toad like we did not, because it's too expensive to be honest, I think. And here I would head on to getting green enchantments. You may have some already from leveling, keep those and just get some extra ones by just going to the enchantment section here and just buying the green ones. You want to make sure you're buying ones you can actually use, not these overloads. You can see in the category here, offense, defense, utility, these ones you can use, and you probably want to get a mix of garnets, cobalts, jades, and then some amethyst and citrine. We're not going to do that now as it's a bit of a waste with my Astral Diamonds and it's not a priority. But from here, you do want to work towards upgrading your character. We have got some decent stats. You want to, again, go back to the gear section, get the upgraded gear that I recommend. But you can also watch my 0 to Hero 34 steps to max that walks you through this entire list here. All the steps you can go through to get the item level you need to get into any content. Just be aware of stat optimization. You want to focus on these so you've got some solid baseline for actually dealing damage. With this, we are looking very, very solid. In a party, your stats will look like this. Yes, with your combat advantage red, a bit overcapped. That is because of your boots and armor again. When you do get upgrades, that will balance out a bit more when you get higher item level. You can see here a bit of gameplay, how you approach, let's say, an ad group, like the shield throw there, the onslaught when you're in the midst of them, and then going for the shield stamina when you're a little bit to the side. And you go to your next group. Make sure you got that 50 vengeance. Here we can use Earthshaker, and then that shockwave, and yeah, this group is dead. Then we get the next group jumping on us. We can go with that shield slam. We get that trigger of the ricochet with our shield throw, and we're off for the next group. We're not doing so bad damage either. There we go with the shield throw. Well, we tried with the revengeance and then just the encounter powers, and you should be able to output some very solid damage here on Fighter. You kind of want the enemies grouped up enough to be able to hit them properly. Knocking them down is wonderful with the shield slam, and then the onslaught there for some just big AoE damage. When you're going for your boss fights, you need to switch over to that momentum. As for the encounters, you need to go to Griffin's Wrath, your Bull Charge, and then also your Anvil of Doom. And then you're pretty much set to go. Make sure the vengeance is nice and full. Straight away, we can close the gap with Bull Charge, get around for combat advantage, and then start using our encounters. This boss has the annoying effect of disabling your abilities. We also used our mount power there, and we may as well use our artifact and our daily power as well. Again, always just trying to make sure you got that vengeance. And that's really it. You can perfect a lot with learning animation cancelling, what you can do with certain abilities, getting the timing perfect, taking advantage of Tactician's precision, but that's all in due course. And we did pretty well in that skirmish, to be honest. So hopefully this helps you fighters out there just to get started with a very solid build. It's got some good stats here. You should be able to do very capable damage, particularly in your random queues and also in your dragon hunts. A massive thank you once again to all of these channel members for their added support. We'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.